So, back in 2010, I remember we had a big range review at Sainsbury's. I've not long been at Sainsbury's, to be fair. And Punk IPA came in as 6-pack. It was £6.50 at the time for 6 of their 330ml beers. To be fair, they didn't sell. Not in Nottingham, at least. I think it was too early for the craft beer revolution at the time. I drank them. I mean, I got them for £1, £1 for 6, so it was pretty decent for me. And obviously, over the years, they've had 5 AM Saints, the Punk Elvis Juice, Mr. President, and there's been lots of different beers over the years. Obviously, the hoo-ha last year with one of the bosses of Brewdog from that documentary, and obviously that created, well, quite a bit of bad publicity in some ways. And they've always had this thing where they Punk IPA, and they were very crafty and in how they got people to promote, to do their beers. They get people to crowdfund them and to buy into their business, and it built their business up substantially. And in some ways, it was a fantastic marketing ploy. You can't hold anything back against Brewdog's marketing in that respect, at least. But over the years, you know, it's not been as good as what it was. And the funny thing, when they did the climate thing, we're the only climate-free bloody brewery. And they actually got people to, again, crowdfund to buy land, to put trees on. And yeah, that made me smile, that did, because it's like you're getting people to buy into your cheeky way of getting the public to pay for you to make out you're a climate-free brewery. I mean, again, it's quite hilarious. It is funny, but this is not the thing of this video. It's just a little bit of background. So recently, and I'll go straight to where, if you look at the likes of Sainsbury's these days, there's a full plinth in Sainsbury's in the middle of the aisle, a Brewdog plinth. And you know, money comes into play. For any company to have their own plinth on an aisle, there's money involved per store. It's something I learnt when I was in supermarkets. I mean, whether it's 100% the thing nowadays, but it certainly was back in 2015, where companies would pay to have their stuff on a plinth, just their stuff, and would send people out to make sure that plinth was as fully stocked, you know, to increase sales as possible. And yeah, well, Sainsbury's, I mean, they've got a full plinth of Brewdog beers. And let's be fair, Brewdog beers lately have been a bit weak compared to what they was back in the good old days. There's the odd perler, gotta admit, you know, not being an arse, there's an odd perler. But on the whole, their brand name is certainly, I don't think, as good as what it used to be years ago. Obviously, you had the thing with Aldi and the replicated beers, and then last year we had the thing with Brewdog and Cloudwater, where Cloudwater beers were brewed at Brewdog. So you can either call them Brewwater or Cloudog beers, but certainly not Cloudwater. Obviously, Cloudwater, the backlash. And to be honest, the beers weren't that great anyway. So it detracted from their name, and they soon got out of that thing. And I think Tesco's got taught a little lesson there. And anyway, Tesco's have just had a range review. And I've got to be honest, they've gone from having a pretty decent lineup of beers from lots of different breweries, and now, and bear in mind, all the supermarkets have reduced their beer aisles for whatever stupid reason. You go into Morrison's, their beer aisles shrunk. Ciders, ready to drinks have expanded. Beer has shrunk. And the pricing in Morrison's, you're getting basically a pay per unit price these days. And this 4 for 3 business, which sometimes on a big ABV beer like North Star 3 can work out. But on other beers, it's actually a lot more expensive than it used to be. Obviously, Sainsbury's, to be fair, have always been quite expensive. But yeah, the Brewdog plinth there is an interesting move forward in Sainsbury's. It's been like that for about a year, to be fair. Asda, they've got quite a lot of Brewdog in as well. Didn't have a Brewdog plinth last time I looked. So we'll move forward to Tesco's last week because that's the most prevalent. Tesco's, thankfully, on their traditional beers are still doing 4 for £6 or £1.70. You look at what Morrison's are selling for, and Tesco's is now the cheapest supermarket for beers. But we'll look at the craft beer aisle. So the craft beer range has been changed in the last week at Tesco's. A load of beers reduced. You may or may not have got some bargains. To be fair, the bargains on that aren't what I would call mega bargains. They've been at 50p off of that across the range. And a lot of good beers have disappeared. A lot of good beers. And so one of the plinths now, there's 2 main plinths for craft beer in Tesco's, well, in my local big Tesco's Extra. One plinth now is just all 4-packs. And it's this trend to get you paying more for your beer. On the other plinth, over half the plinth now, if not 2/3 of the plinth, is Brewdog. And it's like, Jesus Christ, you know, got to be some money changing hands because Brewdog beers aren't that popular these days. Yeah, they may still have the name worldwide, but those people in the know, those people who review beers and those people who drink beers regular, know that the quality of beers from Brewdog has been going down for quite a while. Although their imperial stouts are still top notch, to be fair. So yeah, is it a good thing for supermarkets to stock all this? Yes, Brewdog is a big name. Probably if we're looking at the mega brewers across the UK, probably the biggest named craft beer brewer by some distance, probably. With bars across the UK, bars across the world, hotels, they've made a tidy business of it, despite any of that documentary last year coming forward. We all have views on that. I'm not going to say anything too controversial, that I go into court, or because you have an opinion. But it does make you wonder that flexing the old financial muscle to keep themselves in the supermarkets and very prevalent in the supermarkets. And that by doing that, you kind of squash the opposition out. And you look at Tesco's, and it looks like, in my opinion, that the single can range has diminished quite to what is based very much a lot of Brewdog. There was some Buxton there, but the range itself is a shadow of its former self. I don't know if the people who buy beers in Tesco's has changed. I can't remember the name of the bloke who used to do it. But yeah, it is not, and nowhere near as good as it used to be. And I mean, to be fair, Sainsbury's, even though they've got a Brewdog plinth, their actual beer range now is possibly the best out of the supermarkets. Certainly them, then Morrison's, and top between Asda and Tesco. Tesco have gone from probably the best down to 3rd or 4th place out of the big 4. Aldi's range, you know, it's shite, isn't it? Let's be fair. Lidl's range, again, yeah. Yeah. Marks and Spencer's, well, last time I went to Marks and Spencer's, it was bitterly disappointing. And Waitrose, I've not been in for a good year, so can't really talk on Waitrose. It's a long way to get to a local Waitrose for us. You know, we're literally talking past my workplace and then a few miles at Kelham, so a long way out. Good 45-minute journey just to go and get us some bloody beer. Whereas there used to be about 10 minutes away. So, bit of a difference. But yeah, that's my opinion, you know, one person's opinion. What do you think yourselves, you know? Do you think that there's too much Brewdog in supermarkets? Is it detracting from other brands? Or is it a good thing? Does it bring craft beers to the mass? Albeit maybe slightly controversial craft beers. And that's it for this beer of Wraggy. Something different. Not all beer reviews, although I'm drinking a beer. And yeah, nobby no, mates. Kind of sums me up right, really, but there you go. Anyway, gotta go up the arse, go and chill, work in the morning, and yeah, it's been a good night. Hope everyone's had a great night. And if you've got an opinion, please say it. It's interesting to hear opinions, good and bad, you know, for and against. You know, always interesting to see what people think about Brewdog, where they're going, mistakes made, supermarkets, where they're going, and mistakes made. Cheers all.